What's up, guys? David Miller, Los Angeles-based multimedia artist, part 3 in my series on surviving LA as an artist. The first one, I kind of talked about my own personal business practices and what I actually do to make money living here. The second one, I talked more about why LA is kind of a better ecosystem for a lot of us artists. And this final video, as far as I know, it's the final one. I might add some more after I'm done. But it is going to be really a list of do's and don'ts in being an LA-based artist. And I also think that this kind of applies for most people in life. So if you don't live in Los Angeles or you're not particularly an artist, I think there's probably gonna be something of value for you here, because these are all life lessons I've learned anyways, but there are some that are very centric to living in Los Angeles. So I want to start positively, so I'm gonna talk about do's, things that you should do to make your art career, lifestyle in Los Angeles functional. Number one is don't overextend yourself. And what I mean by that is Los Angeles is a huge place. There's a lot of interesting things in any direction you want to go. And if you think that on a daily, weekly basis you can go all those directions all the time and be everything to everyone, you cannot. You will be nothing to no one if you overextend yourself. So where I live, San Pedro and Long Beach and Palos Verdes, these are local to me. And then it's very easy for me to get to USC and downtown LA through public transport, either the metro, which leaves from Long Beach, or the 950 bus, which leaves directly in front of my apartment. Those are direct lines to those areas, and I can get to know those areas pretty well. I can be in them at the drop of a hat, and by becoming knowledgeable of them, just for my own personal lifestyle, know where all the good coffee shops are. This is where you talk to people. This is where you meet people. This is where they find out about you. The areas that are quite far from me would be your Beverly Hills, West Hollywood, really anything towards the north. I used to come to Pasadena a lot before I lived in LA, because that's where my aunt lived before she passed away. But that is so far from me and remote that making connections and thinking this is where I'm going to establish myself, it's not even worth it. It's basically the same as when I lived in Arizona and thought I could come to LA a couple times a year and establish myself. It just isn't so. You kind of have to be in it to win it, if that's your goal. Also, you're going to make your life a lot less stressful for yourself if you maintain certain zones that are your routine. I'm going to go to Long Beach later today. I always kind of circumnavigate between San Pedro and Long Beach 6 out of 7 days of the week. And there's nothing that feels stressful about that to me. It'll change when they close the St. Vincent Bridge for resurfacing next year, but that's not happening yet. So don't overextend yourself. And by that same token, don't make these creative alliances that are too difficult to schedule. There's people that maybe I get along with creatively, but they live really far away, and it's a stressful effort for either of us to frequently see each other. We see each other a few months or a couple times a year, but that's reality. When someone's far away and it's difficult to get to or from them, then maybe you should focus your energies elsewhere. Do go to as many cultural, artistic events that really speak to you, that get you really fired up, because that's energy that's going to keep you going. The Broad is a museum that's free, and they have a lot of modern and postmodern artists that I adore their work. Basquiat being number one of that group, and it's a free thing to go to. It's downtown LA. So, you know what? I have a day free today. I'm going to get a ticket and I'm going to go hang out and I'm going to draw. in front of his paintings and soak in the atmosphere. All of my favorite bands, they would skip Arizona when I lived there, but they would definitely come to Los Angeles frequently. So since I moved here, I think in the first few months I saw Tegan and Sarah, Metric, Death Cab for Cutie, which was okay. Who else did I see that was really good? Well, I didn't see Young the Giant, but they play here frequently. They live in Orange County, so that's gonna happen. But Jesus Jones, I shot them last year. Haven't seen them in almost 20 years. And it's gonna happen. Every band that I like that tours, if I don't catch them. Oh, of course, my son and I went and saw Muse. And we saw them in Anaheim. That was an amazing show. There's gonna be something for you if you're creative that's going on. Whether it's animation, I went to an animation festival on Saturday for the Oscar shorts that are coming up. Music, photography, that stuff's out there. If I have to take time and energy to go do a thing, I need it to be a thing that feeds me back. And thankfully, because Los Angeles is so big and so varied, there's always something that's going to feed what you need. So do those things. Do take advantage of the good weather. Be out as much as you can because vitamin D is good for you and you're probably going to be exercising. Also, when you're out in public, people get to see what you're making, and they do approach you like, that's a cool drawing. They're authentic connections. They're not like fake, oh, what can you do for me kind of connections, Be out, do your creative practice out in the open. Don't be afraid to talk to people. The worst that could happen is that, someone kind of annoys you when you're in the middle of something, but I haven't found that to be the case at all. Do look into alternative ways of getting around the city. So I already mentioned the metro, and then there's the bus system, which goes everywhere. There are bikes that you can check out with your phone. In central LA, it's Metro Bike. In Long Beach, it's these blue social bikes, and they don't cost very much, and some of them are electric. So you just scan it, hop on the bike, go about your business, park the bike wherever there's another one of those hubs. And I tell you what, like, that has been such a cool thing for me to do, especially when I'm like, all right, I have to think about a project. And when I want to think about it, then I need to be like doing something else that would prevent me from being on my phone or from, being on my computer. Because if I'm on those things, then I'm being creative that way, and I'm not thinking about what I need to think about, the writing or the way I'm trying to solve a creative problem, whatever it is. But bicycling, I can do that. So any kind of like physical activity I can get myself involved in, and then my mind kind of solves creative problems. I love those things, and biking is one of my favorite things anyways. I don't need to own a bike and drag it around because you can just check them out wherever, you're in central LA or you're in Long Beach, for sure. Check them out, it's fine. Long Beach is flat. San Pedro and Palos Verdes are not flat, and it is not good to have a bike here, unfortunately. I did move here with a bike, and I couldn't really get anywhere in San Pedro because it's all hills. Do keep good relationships and friendships, checking on your friends, even if you don't get to see them that often. Because if they're creative people too, they're probably going through the same exact experiences you are, and they also probably have like some answers to questions that you might have about how to navigate as a creative or in Los Angeles in general. I remember when the fires happened about a month ago, and just super outpouring of support and people offering couches and all those things. It's like authentic, real people. We're full of that. And at this point, I'm going to kind of go into some don'ts. So, number one on my don't list is, as much as you want to be social, as much as, alcohol is a social lubricant, and maybe if you're into bands, you go to a lot of bars and you're gonna encounter people, in that scenario, and that's how you're gonna make friendships. I think getting addicted to alcohol, or anything, of course, but alcohol is really the main one, is going to be a detriment to your career and goals and anything else that you want to accomplish in life, your relationships. And nothing wrong with it in moderation or here and there, but just think of like VH1 Behind the Musics, if you're old enough to have seen those. The way that all of those people messed up their careers was either drugs, alcohol, not paying attention to their bank account, and if they were men, women, but it could go both ways. It's getting messed up in relationships, those things. They're so basic, they're so common, and it happens all the time. And you don't need it. Like the level of distraction here, I just mentioned there was a whole bunch of stuff to do all the time, bands and events, and if you're distracted, you are not making things. So I was social over the weekend, and then yesterday was President's Day, and today I have another day off, randomly, kind of. But I'm gonna lock down and get stuff done, and I'm not allowing myself to be distracted or do other things until I get those things done. And the distractions I am allowing for myself, like going to the gym or going to the Broad, as I mentioned earlier, they're going to weave into the things that I need to get done. The things I need to get done for myself could be YouTube, could be writing, could be animation project, working on the Magdalena music project, all of that stuff. They do not get done if I do not do them. I wised up to that a long time ago when I was in a long relationship, and I was, being asked to shut down at a certain time or be home at a certain time. But the projects that I was working on aren't done. And also, when you have creative energy, you gotta keep it until it dissipates. You can't just this creative energy, I'm doing so good at my music, I'm mixing really well, and now 9 o'clock, gotta turn it off. No, don't work like that. You cannot be distracted. And to be perfectly honest, if you're addicted to a drug or alcohol or a person, they are the most basic, obvious distractions that artists face and deal with. It's understandable, especially the social aspect of being in relationships or having to go out for a drink. But there's a point where it needs to stop. So if you can get by without that, you're also going to be physically and mentally more sharp. And that's important, because if you do view what you're doing as a competition, or you need to stay at a certain level as an artist in a craft, or hustling, whatever it is that's important to you, if you are allowing a distraction, everybody who doesn't allow that distraction beats you. They just do. They get the gig because you were distracted. They were able to answer the email on time, where you delayed because you're you scatterbrain and you're distracted. Don't do that. Stay sharp. Another don't in LA, I think don't have a lot of overhead to what you do. And I remember I was really into Seth Godin, and I'll probably start listening to him again because I'm feeling real businessy at the time. Though I was listening to Seth Godin, and one of his immediate pieces of advice is cut overhead to the bone. So don't have an office if you don't need an office. I say don't have a lot of fancy gear if you're not using it. If you're required for a gig to have certain kinds of gear, you can rent that very affordably, and if you're getting paid as a freelancer, you can also pass that off to the people that are hiring you. But somebody who has a grip truck and has tons of stuff, and they don't have a place to safely park that truck, everything's gonna get stolen anyways. That happened to me. I had some lights in the back of a pickup, and I lent them out to my friend, and I went to pick them up, and then I left them in the car, and I went to a show, shot the show, came back to my truck, the lights were stolen. And it was like, tinted windows, and it was just kind of like off Sunset Boulevard. I thought, why would anybody be so brazen? And no, the reality is, the more you have, the more like it's going to get broken, stolen, or cost a lot to maintain. So, to be honest, I think I've succeeded far better by having no space that costs me money that I now have to like pay for, having very little gear that I have to maintain or fix when it gets broken, and by doing what I'm doing right now, I used to film my YouTubes on my Fuji cameras, and now I'm filming it on my phone. What's the difference? Nothing, really. Like, the quality level doesn't make a difference. YouTubers who vlog straight to their phones have higher numbers than most of the people who are like real fancy and produced. So what you offer at the core, and your like imagination and your creativity, and knowing that you could pick up pretty much any camera and do the same, freelance gig if asked, I think that's far more valuable. It makes you far more versatile, and what you have to offer is more intrinsic to you than, I own a Red and these cinema lenses, and so I can give you the look exactly like these movies that other people can also copy if they buy the same exact gear. You know what I mean? And overall, that kind of goes into like not being a generalist. There are thousands of generalists out there who, can do the basic job, meeting the basic requirements. But if you're very unique and boutique, there's only one you, and people are willing to pay more to get that one you over the thousands of generalists who do the same thing, and therefore they usually go for like the cheaper one. If all other factors are the same, if they're all like a certain level of reliability and they all own the same gear, then they'll just go for the cheapest one out of those, the one they can budget the best. Another don't. I think don't go in a direction that you don't want to go. Like, you can really only put your energy towards certain directions at a time. And I say put all your energy towards the direction that you want to go creatively, lifestyle-wise, instead of splitting it, because if you split it up, you're not going to get anywhere. Do not pretend to be something you're not. So LA has a stereotype that it's full of influencer types who are doing like obnoxious TikToks and YouTube shorts and, stunts, and they all want to be Mr. Beast or Logan Paul or whatever. It's like, the way that most people here think about those kinds of people is the same way that a lot of people think about them outside of here, which is that we don't like them. They're annoying, they're obnoxious, they're clout chasers, they're trying to, I'm sorry if I'm throwing Mr. Beast under the bus. He might be a nice guy for all I know. I've never seen any of his videos, but just like the people who are like, hey, I'm a big prankster, and these privileged type people can impress certain people, especially like younger ones who like to see funny content, or who like audacious stuff. But the reality of it here is that the strong visionary artist is respected. Maybe not to the degree that we'd all like them to be, but people like David Lynch and Guillermo del Toro and whoever else are celebrated, and their authenticity is celebrated, and it does get supported. The person who is obnoxious and self-centered and rude and like muscles their way in, because I've seen this in person. I have seen this once. Muscles their way in, like, I'm important, I'm an influencer, I was talking to this person about making a show and blah, blah, blah. It's like the BS it really sinks really fast. They can maybe maintain the image for a little while, but if people don't like you, they don't want to support you, and you kind of need other people to like you and support you. The best way to do that in the long run is to be authentic and giving, not just taking, not me, because let's be real, everybody's too busy to think about what's important about you. You know, we're the more busy we are in Los Angeles, the more we have to like knuckle down, focus on ourselves, work on our thing, get it done, get it out there, get it to communicate to people who might care, who it might mean something to, you know. We do not have time to worship a cult of personality, nor do we want to. So, no overhead, no addictions. I think I talked a little bit about relationships, but I think you really need to be cautious with your relationships in the sense that if you're with somebody and they're working against what you're trying to do, it's a very bad relationship. Even if you love that person, there's going to be resentment built into what you're doing together, and it's going to end ugly. And at the end of the day, you're either going to sacrifice or hobble your career because you've been suppressed and you've built up resentment, and it's just going to be a big waste of time. So young people don't understand this. That's fine because you're kind of operating more on like a hormonal level, or you know, I got married and had kids and a house and all that stuff. I'm acting like was above it, but I can look back at my age and see that I was with somebody who actively worked against what I was trying to do. And that's not because they were, you know, a villain, but because it wasn't their priority as it was mine. They didn't understand the art life as I do. And, you know, they had their own interest and priorities that were being worked against by me working towards my goals. So at this age, I understand the career and the goals won't happen if I'm aligned with a relationship that doesn't support that, and I can't mutually support theirs. It's not just about me, but that was a hard lesson to learn. That's why I'm throwing it into the do's and don'ts of living in LA. It's why you see a lot of actors and actresses and musicians like not married. You know, they're focusing on their career, they're working, and the times they've had relationships, it's kind of worked against their career. So, understandable. There's my, off the top of my head, list of do's and don'ts about living in Los Angeles. It's a wonderful place. Absolutely wonderful. There's, you know, we always can talk about the negative stuff. I think if you sit around and complain and focus on the negative stuff, you're not bringing the positive energy towards you. So better to, you know, have your eyes open to what you're dealing with, reality, but be positive about it and get involved in as much positive energy as you can to bring what you're really looking for and what you're really made for in life. Bring that to you, and also that you radiate out that same kind of positive vibe. You know, we all elevate our surroundings by being authentic, positive people. So, apologies, I'm starting to ramble. At the end, best of luck in your own creative endeavors. Talk to you next time.